Hi there. Hopefully I am live. Oh, I see Miss Jamie. I meant to message you. I see Miss Jamie is here. Um, Maybe you can give me a 2 thumbs up if you can hear me, see me, all that good stuff. I'm gonna make sure I don't have to close anything off. But I think everything is working. So, um, I have just come on to do a walkthrough of the Guardian of the Night tarot. Let me actually go ahead and flip us down where, oh good, Miss Jamie can see and hear. I'm going to go ahead and flip us down here and make sure, there we go, we can see everything here. And we'll go back over here. Oh, right. I'm going to stick my mouse out of the way for now. We might have to grab it back if we need to change anything. Miss Nancy says that she loves this deck. Hello, Christina. I love this deck as well. I've had this for a while now. Oh, I should have grabbed. It might be over here. Let me look. Here it is. Not too long ago, we did a walkthrough of the Urban Crow Tarot. This is a deck I've been loving. Also, I have a walkthrough of the Crow Tarot. That is also a deck that is by the same creator. So, this is mine. I did edge it at the end. We were talking about me edging it. I did edge it in a matte gold color, and I love the way that looks with the deck. And so this is a deck I've been greatly enjoying, and the Crow Tarot I've actually had for quite a long time, and use that all of the time for all different kinds of things and love it. So that being said, now I believe I had the Crow Tarot for a while, and then the Guardian of the Night pre-order came out. And I pre-ordered the Guardian of the Night tarot, but before that came out, or before we actually got the Guardian of the Night, I believe the pre-order for the Urban Crow Oracle came out. So I believe I ordered and paid for and ordered this first, and then the Urban, I was like, oh shoot, I better grab that because I love the Crow Tarot, and I ordered this, and I got this well before this. I've been using this. I just haven't gotten around to doing a walkthrough of it. So I've used it. And so I know I did the walkthrough of this first, but I actually had this deck first, if that makes sense. But anyways, the artist, well, let's not use that box. The artist of this deck and the other decks I just mentioned is MJ Cullinane. And she is also has some other decks with dogs, I believe, and cats and things like that. Not necessarily decks that I would order for myself. I'm an Isabel person. I'm not a big, I wouldn't consider myself a dog or a cat person. So I probably wouldn't get whole decks of them. I am a crow person. So I obviously have decks of those. But I was excited because I love her Crow Tarot so much. I was excited to see that she had a Guardian of the Night, which is an animal-based tarot. Now, if you have watched my decks walkthroughs before, you know that I have a hit or miss relationship about animal tarot decks. I do feel like a lot of times when I review an animal tarot deck, by the time I get through with it, I think, nice, but it should have been an oracle deck. That's almost, not always, but the majority of the time, I end up feeling like it should have just been an oracle deck versus a tarot deck. That somehow both sides lose out. It doesn't quite reference the energy of the tarot card, and it doesn't quite do justice to the animal that's depicted in the deck. And so I'm usually kind of left with that feeling like this would have been better served just to lean into the energy of the animal and not worry about the tarot deck itself. That's generally how I end up feeling. But there have been exceptions to that. And so, and I'm always hopeful of there being an exception to that rule, and being in finding that animal tarot deck that does work so that I can use it, because I just love to work with animal energy. I do really enjoy animal decks. I have probably one I need to update, but I have a video that kind of goes through all of my animal decks and what I feel about them, what I use them for, what I like them. So I am one of those persons. I am one of those people who tend to, if there's an animal deck that comes out, I tend to get it unless there's just something about it that I just know I'm not going to like. And so I know those people that are the opposite, so just stay far away from animal decks. I go grab towards any animal deck. So I was excited because I've liked what she's done so far to give this a look. Let's try to zoom in a little bit closer here. Oops. Let's try to zoom in, and we'll go closer still once we get to the cards itself. But let's take a closer look here. So Jamie, Jamie's on here, I know, and I know she got this deck as well, so maybe she can remember. I know that I got these two separately, right? I got them at different mailings. The deck came, and then the book came separately, but I think that was just a pre-order thing. I don't believe I paid for these separately, because I don't normally do that unless it's just a it's a guidebook that I just think, oh my goodness, I've got to have that separately. Mostly I don't purchase guidebooks separately from decks. So I think that the guidebook comes, the printed guidebook comes with the deck. I believe it just came separately because of the way that the pre-order panned out. It is now not, obviously the pre-order is done. I've had this for a while. And so you can go and check that out for yourself. I'm just here to look at the deck itself, but I'm pretty sure that either a PDF of the guidebook comes with it, or the physical guidebook comes with it as well. So you'll have to check that out on the website. I'll try to remember to go back and link the website. Got this little, it's my little token. It's just kind of sticking there, irritating my Libra brain. So we'll move it to the side. I do actually really like having this guidebook. I will say so far, now I'm gonna preface how I've been using this deck, because I've used it some as a tarot deck, but I've also used it as an oracle deck, and just used whatever animal came up and just totally worked with the animal, not even paying attention to the tarot card. So I've used it in both ways. But I have to say, I have been very intrigued by the animals chosen. Thank you so much, Jamie, for putting the link. So it looks like there's another, so there may be our sold out and coming. No, that was fall of 2020. Anyways, click on the link and find out. I'll try to put it in there. But for us, we're just going to take a look at the deck itself. Because I don't know. I just know it came. So I've used it in both ways, and I've been very intrigued by some of the animals that have been chosen, but I've not gone through it one by one. As soon as I got it, I shuffled it up and I started using it. I wasn't in a place where I could do a walkthrough, and so I just started using it. And that's not normally my MO, right? Normally, even for my own self, I want to do these walkthroughs because it's what kind of, all right, let's take a look at what's going on here before I start to use it. In this case, I just started to use it, and I haven't done a one-by-one walkthrough of it yet. So while I've used the deck, I haven't, paid attention to every single I haven't, I haven't looked at every single animal, but the ones that have come up for me in relation to the tarot card have been intriguing. And the guidebook has been helpful to peek at and see because, and we'll look at, well, let's just do that right now. Let's pull this in here. And I know this is probably a little dark. If I put on another light, it's going to really probably blow out the other camera. Let me just try this. Alexa, turn on living room.
Okay.
I don't think that really helps too much, does it? Does that help at all? Well, we're not going to spend too much time looking at this, so we're not going to freak about it too much. Here's the guidebook. I know that you can get the PDF. It looks like the deck is available, but the combo with the book is sold out. But I'm pretty sure that you would still get the PDF of the guidebook. You know what? We're sitting here online, so let's just take a quick peek. I should have looked at this. Let me pull my keyboard over here. I should have checked on this before, but that's one of the things about the lives is we can do this. Guardian of the Night Tarot. We can do this. Deck and guidebook. So the deck and guidebook is sold out, but let's just go to the shop and Guardian Deck and Guidebook. So you can get just the deck right now without the printed guidebook. Card size. I'm just seeing real quick if the Echo packaging. Please do here. There's a guidebook. It looks like if you want to get the guidebook, they're available via Amazon for $5. So I can't tell from this. I guess we'll have to maybe message the creator and put a note in the description box whether or not you get a PDF of it or if it's just guidebook or no guidebook. That we'll have to check out because I can't quite tell from the from the description there. So anyways, let's go back here and look at the guidebook for a minute. I appreciate this guidebook here. It has a Carl Jung statement that says, even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness, and the word happy would lose its meaning if it were not balanced by sadness. It is far better to take things as they come along with patience and equanimity. So we have that there. We have it talking about, preparing your deck. I liked this portion here. I find personally, this is my personal opinion. I find yes and no questions to be not very useful in tarot. I think that if you want to do yes and no questions, playing cards or geomancy is the best way to do them. So I don't ever go to tarot for yes and no questions. But there are people, right, who just use tarot. That's their main mode of divination. And so she gives a way to approach yes and no questions by giving you cards. She has you, obviously do shuffle the deck up, focus on it, and pull a single card and get a yes, a no, or a maybe. And she lists the cards that would be yeses, nos, and maybes. So I think that is interesting. I've not seen that in a guide, in a deck guidebook before. So I liked that. Again, I think that would be helpful to have something delineated out if you were going to do that. So I thought that was a neat little add-in there. She has a single card advice, and then she has another, her favorite quick reading to do, which maybe we'll do that at the end of the walkthrough. I also like how she put in questions from the major arcana. I do believe that every tarot deck, every tarot card is both asking you a question and giving you an answer. And so she has, if you get this particular card, a major arcana card, what is the question that it's asking you? So I enjoy that. And then it goes into the cards. There are not any images of the here. There is just the text. But what I do like is that it gives, from the ones that I've read, and I haven't read through the whole guidebook, but from the ones that I've looked up, it gives you information about the animal, as well as information about the card. And so you're able to kind of combine those two. And I also like that she gives you keywords for any animals that might be showing up in the card itself. So you have sort of, okay, here's the tarot, here's what it traditionally is about, here's what's going on, here's what's traditionally been the tarot card. And then if there are any, or there are animals, so any animals that show up in the card, A, she tells you what they are, and B, she gives you keywords that would be associated with those animals. So I find that to be helpful, to, you know, in looking at the guidebook and the way that you might interpret what animals are there and how you might relate those to the tarot card. So again, I have found this is that it gives you a lot of information, and I like that we have information about the animals and themselves and how that might relate. And so I find it useful. I found the guidebook to be more useful than some other ones that don't always have the same amount of information in animal deck. So we'll see. We'll look that up with a couple cards that are interesting to us as we go along and see how that gives us. Hello, everybody coming in. We are doing a walkthrough of the lovely Guardian of the Night Tarot by M.J. Cullinane is how I'm saying it. I don't know that that is particularly correct. I almost felt like pulling this out and shuffling this. Cardstock wise, this is, I believe this is the same as the Urban Crow. If you have the Urban Crow, I think it's the same cardstock as the Urban Crow. I love to riffle shuffle it. Again, I've used this deck quite a bit already. I like to riffle shuffle it. It is definitely thin but flexible. The downside is it is a bit slippy. I definitely, it's not mass marketed. This is produced by the creator, and it is a bit slippy. I've definitely found it shuffles amazing, but I have definitely dropped this or like slid, like plopped off on the ground this more time than normal, because I just feel like it's a bit slippily in terms of but it's not horrible. It's a nice gloss. Like, I like the cardstock, other than the fact that sometimes the pile gets away from me. I'm going to go ahead, and zoom in a little bit closer there. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. I love this tool. Okay, let's take a look at the back. So here is the back. It's a lovely like teal color. It is reversible. You can see we have MJC on the corners, but it's on both the corners. So it is reversible if you're someone who likes, uses reversals. Again, I've never totally understood the whole issue with the reversible backs, because even if I was going to lay these out, like, I don't lay my cards face down, I lay the cards face up. So the only time I could see that really matters is if it's, you fan it out and you don't want to like grab for a card that's not reversed. But anyways, I don't read with reversal, so it's not an issue for me. But if it is for you, this to me is reversible, and so that's great. I do really like the backing. Okay, so in terms of her artwork, she has a digital, what I would say is digital collage, mixed with digital art, like digital drawing. So, and she did leave a comment on my walkthrough of the Urban Crow, where I think we were probably talking about the same thing. And she said, yes, I was right. It's a mix of collage, digital collage, but also she draws digitally, or she paints digitally as well. So it's a mix of the two styles, and I think she does it beautiful. I really do. Not generally a fan of collage work. It's not like my go-to type of favorite art style, but I think she does it really beautifully, and I like the look of her art. So There's that. Oh, let's just see what the back of this says. Well, I just have this behind me. From bats to bees, from a panther to a pangolin, from cattle to a capybara, I'm sure I'm saying that wrong. The guardian of the night brings to you a world full of vibrant, powerful, and wise creatures, each adding an additional layer of insight as you travel inward. So we have that. It does have a border. I like this border. I haven't seen, it pulls that sort of teal color on the sides over here. I haven't seen if anybody has trimmed this or not. You certainly could probably trim it. It looks like it would be even to the trimming, and you could actually trim it and leave the title on. Or technically you could go underneath that and take it all the way off if you wanted to. But you could trim the border and still retain the title of the card. But I've not seen if anybody has trimmed this or not. My intention isn't to trim it. It doesn't bother me so far. I think it would be really beautiful trimmed. I think the images would really pop. But at the moment, I don't have any desire to trim it. It doesn't make me feel like I want to trim it, even though I love like the Crow Tarot, the mass market Crow Tarot that has is borderless. So who knows what I'll end up doing in the future, right? So I love this Fool card, and it's not a normal Fool card, is it? So let's just read this one so we have an example of what the guidebook has. The wolf chased the rabbit through the woods and onto the ice. Although cracks began to appear under the wolf's feet, it had faith that the ice would hold its weight. The rabbit also had confidence that its lighter weight and speed would be an advantage as it scurried out of the woods and out to the center of the freshly frozen lake. Both creatures had a goal in mind, and both believed that the ice would not fail them. When I created this card, and can I just say that I really love when deck creators talk about why they created a card in a specific way. As I understand the name or what the tarot cards mean, right? I have my own way of working with tarot. I understand the basics. I know the basics of what the tarot means, whether it's Rider-Waite-Smith or I'm working with it in more of a Marseille way or number way or whatever way I'm doing with it, right? So I'm less interested in a blurb about what the Fool card means. At the stage that I feel like I'm at with tarot, I'm less interested in that. I'm more interested in why a particular artist created a deck to look this way. It shows me intentionality and it gives me a little peek into what they were thinking. And I really enjoy that look, that peek into that. So anyways, ramble there. When I created this card, I wanted to illustrate the full energy of the Fool. Not only does the Fool represent letting go of fear and trusting the universe, but it also suggests a risk of blind faith. Those standing and watching on the side of the lake back here, we could see a wolf back there, could perceive both the wolf and the rabbit as being foolish. Traditionally, the Fool is all about acting first and thinking later. It is a card that can represent a great journey as you let go of expectations and proceed on a journey knowing, regardless of the outcome, something of value will be gained. When I see this card, the first question that comes to mind is, am I overthinking my next move? The Fool asks that you let go of the need to control every aspect of a situation, allow events to unfold, and if something appears different than how you expected, perhaps it will turn out to be a pleasant twist as you make your way on a new endeavor. So then it has keywords for any animals that are in the deck or in this image, which in this case are the wolf, family, reliance, hope, teamwork, and confidence, and the rabbit, abundance, reproduction, open, creativity, and luck. So I really love this Fool card. I think that it enters us immediately into sort of this energy of guardian of the night, that we aren't really just, we're going a little bit deeper and looking at both sides of the cards here. We have two potential Fool energies here. The wolf has been chasing the rabbit. The rabbit is running out onto the ice and saying, I'm lightweight and I'm fast and I've got claws. I can get across this into the safe space of the middle of this lake. And the wolf is a little bit more of that blind faith that's saying, I think this ice is going to hold. I'm going to take a leap of faith and go out on it and hope that I can get it. So we have a little bit of the foolishness as well as the smarts that might come into play with the Fool energy in one card. I've not seen a Fool card depicted like this before, and I really appreciate that kind of shift there. So there we have that. Again, love the color tones. I really love her, the way that she does her digital art and her collaging things together. It's really beautiful. And this is no, different. I love the Magician as a raccoon. I think it looks, oh, I'm so sorry. Somebody is asking about the size. So let's see. This is kind of, I think, standard-y size. This is the Oak, Ash, and Thorn, but I think it's pretty standard. And so it's definitely wider and a little bit taller than what I would say sort of a standard tarot deck might be, which I really like because it creates quite a nice sized image. It's the same size as her Urban Pro Oracle. So even with the borders, I feel like the image that you get is really a nice size. So I love the Magician as a raccoon because you do think of a raccoon as being smart. They get into all kinds of things. They're very clever. They are very agile. They really are controlling their environment in a powerful way. So I do like that. I'm just skimming to see. Yeah. So it talks about, again, what the raccoon is doing. They're not passive. They're active. They're resourceful hunters. They're using all of their resources. We usually see magicians with the 4 elements. So we do see the wand, we see the cup, we see the sword, we see the pentacle here. And so those are the resources that we have at our disposal, and the raccoon is using their resources to the utmost ability. So I think the raccoon is a great animal to choose for the Magician. And again, she's giving you that information here. Why would she choose the raccoon? What the Magician card means, and then giving you the keywords for the animal. So I'm really pleased with that. And again, it's always hit and miss for me on animal decks. And I like them. I like it when you see something different. We'll see if we see some different things. Like, for example, right away with the High Priestess, we often see bats in the position of the Hangman, right? That's pretty standard. That if it's an animal deck and there's a of course there's going to be a hangman, and a lot of times we'll see the bats in the Hangman position, but she has it for the High Priestess, which is different. And so let's just take a skim here. We're not going to read the whole thing, but just seeing why she chose the bat. Can you imagine being a bat hanging there in the night air, taking it all in without feeling a need to impulsively act on every breeze that brushes by your head, using all your senses to their fullest, your long, slick wings wrapping around your body, making a peaceful cocoon that camouflages you to the trees? There was no other creature I could think of that represents the energy of the High Priestess more than the bat, as it is, after all, considered the guardian of the night. A High Priestess travels through the darkness across the veil in silence as she uses her intuition to hone in on the information that will best support her at this time. In return, you must meet her energy using the same frequency for there to be a connection and for her wisdom to be received. So it's using that idea of the sonar energy and really sort of instead of that idea of diving into the water, it's going into the night, because this is the Guardian of the Night tarot. I like that. And again, I really like that she's doing something different. And I like this last paragraph where she says, although it is in our isolation, in that space where we find quiet, the answers we seek become known. The bat energy is also one of the community and also serves a reminder, goes on. So we have this idea of that quiet and that step aside energy. And then we have that energy of also the community aspect of kind of taking that knowledge outward. So I like it. I like it. Here we have the fox as the empress. I quite love that as well. I think that that makes sense. I like that we have the fox standing guardian over like her kit that is in the nest here, which I think is really beautiful. And again, all of the ones that I'm looking at show her reasoning for picking that animal and how that would tie together with the tarot card. So definitely am loving that. And so you know what they are. Like, for example, with the Emperor, it's not just an owl, but it is a great horned owl. And so she lets you know that. And so again, if you're going to use this for an animal deck, or if like myself, you might grab it and pull just an animal card, and you want to know more than just that it's an owl, but that it is also what kind of an owl it is. And so this does let you know that it is a great horned owl, and that it is noble and healthy and wise. And so again, I would say that you would see sometimes the owl somewhere else than typically in the Emperor. And I really like that energy. I like that it's a bird. So you have that idea of the mind energy of clarity. It's a predator. Owls are predators, and so it has that instinctual energy there that we would see with the Emperor. I just think it works really well, and I think it's again unusual. We do see like a throne in the background. Her decks are generally Rider-Waite-Smith based, but with the Crow Tarot, because I don't read straight from Rider-Waite-Smith, with the Crow Tarot, I have not had any issue working with that. I read it more as a pip deck, and I have not had any issue reading with this one either, even outside of my typical Rider-Waite-Smith meanings. Here we have the Hierophant. Again, I don't think you would normally pick a mouse for the Hierophant, but I really love it. You can see that the key is still there, right? So there are keys to the traditional meanings there. But here we have a bakery in the background. We have this mouse who's up there talking to the rest of the mice. I have to see it. I know this is going to be a bad one because I'm so interesting to see. She tells like a story here about this this isn't a mouse, this is a rat. I'm so sorry. I'm sure somebody who knows about mice and rats would have known that besides me, but this is a rat. She admits that she is squeamish about this animal, and so which I thought that is wonderful. She talks about Hierophant energy being tied to our heritage, our culture, and what is expected of us for no other reason than the box that we've been put in at the result of our birth. That's an interesting way to think about and depict the Hierophant, because we do think about traditions with the Hierophant. We do know that there is that line that we have to be careful of with the Hierophant, that we're passing on traditions, but that we aren't allowing those traditions to lock us in and box us in. And so I like that, that, you know, she thinks about that as this idea of that sometimes though that those traditions, those inherited, this is who we are because this is where we're born and this is when we're born, and that can lock us in. I thought that was an interesting description of the thing. So she says, when illustrating this card, I thought about how the young rat wanted to be a chef, see the bakery, but it faced expectations from all around because it was born a rat. His father expected him to raid kitchens. The cooks expected him to be a dirty thief. The rat was placed in a box, put there for no other reason than because it was born a rat. She's talking about how her daughter loves the movie Ratatouille, which I love that movie. However, the rat knew enough about himself to not allow the expectations of others to determine his fate. And so the keywords that she has for rat are intelligence, which I do know about rats, tradition, success, and tenacity. So that, again, not an animal that you would normally see, I think, depicted on the Hierophant, but I think it works. And I like that she gives us that little story about where that comes from and why she might use that. It looks like Soren is saying that there are Lenormands with rats instead of mice. Okay, I know we have to speed up. I'm enjoying the different things like scorpions in the lover card. I really like that one. Um, especially if you want to take on she looks at this as a union of two forces, and certainly with the energy, we've got the scorpions here with the entwined tails. We have the snake here with that entwined. There's a name for this symbol, and she might put it in here. I'm going to stop trying to read all of them, but there's a name for that particular symbol. And then she has the Luna moth here as well. And so then again, she gives you some keywords there for the scorpion, for protection, for beliefs, passions, strong opinions, but bringing those strong opinions together in union, and then sort of that rebirth and transformative energy of the lunar moth. And so for me, as someone who sees the Lover's card as really making choices and decisions from that fully connected inner space, outer space, higher self, we all have to be in alignment. We've got to bring that energy together and make a single decision that we're going to stand behind, because it's a decision that has long-term consequences. And so I just think this brings a little bit of more power to the Lover's card than we often see, which is usually swans. Swans are very powerful birds, but we often see sort of birds in flight or mated forever or something like that. And this, which is strong and powerful, but this just takes it to another level and definitely takes it into the night, which I think is really beautiful. Here we have the Chariot with the badger. So this is particularly a honey badger. As I said, I don't know, maybe it was probably in the Oak, Ash, and Thorn Tarot when we walked through that. I see badgers as being really aggressive, because apparently badgers in the United States are more aggressive, or at least we talk about them more aggressive. Whereas in England, or in the UK, I don't know, in Europe in general, the badgers are seen as much more as gentle energy, more wind in the willow kind of energy here. But I like this particular, even the badgers that I grew up thinking about. Catechist, thank you, Tanny, I appreciate that. There is she uses grit as one of the keywords for the honey badger. This determination, this grit, this independence that you get, that I think makes a lot of sense with that sense of will and confidence of the Chariot. So I like that. Anna asks, what is the little symbol above the badger? Oops, sorry. I'm going to try to, hopefully is that focusing in. It looks like a heart. Grit is not just a food. Yes, it is a food from the U.S. South, but grit is also a adjective for determination. She's got grit, you would say, of somebody who was just going to get in there and get things done. So yes, it looks like a heart with like laurel leaves on either side. It's a collage type deck. Like we've got like waves of chickens in the background here. I really wish we could read every single card to see everything she was thinking, but we would definitely be here forever, wouldn't we? For sure. Okay, moving on. I like the badger, or the honey badger, for the strength card. So here we have justice. I've got this. Okay, I'm out of whack here. Let me. Oh, I have justice. Sorry, I'm justice with 8. Obviously, that there's no numbers. Okay, that's something to talk about real quick. The major arcana are not numbered, which I like. It doesn't bother me one way or another. For me, the original tarot deck was made with justice at 8 and strength at 11, right? And so that's how I see that. With the Rider-Waite-Smith, they flipped that. And so obviously there's no numbers. You can see it how you want, but that's why it's out of order of the guidebook. So let's find Justice. So here we have the bat as magical, intuitive, quiet, esoteric, success, prosperity. It's interesting connecting Justice with, in some ways, to the energy of the High Priestess because they were both bats. Oh, just to be clear, every animal, there isn't a different animal on every single card from what I can see. It is more using the animal that best indicates, you know, what she's trying to get with the card itself. And there are sometimes multiple animals, as we've already seen, on each card as well. So she wasn't really trying to have one card for one animal and no repetitions. That really doesn't seem to have been her point here. So we can see the scales that are here. We see the sword that's here for Justice. There are cue-ins. If you're looking for cue-ins, there are cue-ins to the card that I've seen so far, where you can get an idea. A, you would know by the title. B, you can see the scales that are here. We can see the sword that's here. And so it talks about using echolocation, hunting for a meal through the dark, using only the resources it has at its disposal. So you're really honing in. If you think about like echolocation as honing in and kind of putting aside all the distracting colors of a jungle, the leaves and all the stuff that's going on, and instead just honing in on what's necessary and what's true to catch your prey. So I like that there. And I do love the Blood Moon card there as well. So so we have that with Justice. Again, that's why I have it. When I went back to put it in order, that's just the order that I put it in. Next, we have the Hermit as a spider, which I really like. Okay, we'll go backwards because we got to go back in order. Does she say what kind of spider? Just says spider here. Like my other decks, this was the first card that she created for Guardian of the Night. Apparently she always starts with the Hermit, which is nice to see, or it's interesting to know that. The image of a spider weaving a web that not only protects but also provides nourishment, asks you to seek solitude, find the quiet space that welcomes insight from your higher self. The Hermit energy is often lost on those who mistake being alone for loneliness or are uncomfortable sitting with their inner thoughts. So it's like going to the center of the web and just waiting for that insight to come, or that jiggle on the spider web. So I like that. I think that she says the spider makes an ideal hermit, as it is less than social creature, preferring to spend its time in the shadows. Known for being mysterious, channel this creature when it's time to assess your growth. So again, different animals than you would often see in an animal deck. So here we have the Wheel of Fortune, and this has a bunch of different animals in here, and she lists them all here. Owls, bats, snakes, scorpions, lunar moth, ones that we've seen so far up until now. The owls, bats, spiders circle in the night sky to create a vortex of healing, transformative energy. The owls create clarity. The bats bring in intuition. And, so she goes through each of the animals and why, what that brings to the card. So both in the description of the text, but also then gives you all of the keywords to see. And, I could see where in a reading, and I've had this come up in a reading, you're doing a particular reading and one of those animals might really stand out as being intuitively hitting harder. And so you could really lean into that particular energy and what does that bring to the energy of the wheel. Anna says, I like that she's not typically using typically used animals. You can kind of guess a lot of times what animals are being used, are going to be used. And I like that she's kind of keeping you guessing here. So I like this. I don't generally love images of the Wheel of Fortune. It's never my favorite card, but I really like this both visually, kind of that kaleidoscopy feel, and with the various animals here. snake and the mouse for the strength card. Okay, so we'll have to go backwards because I obviously have it out of the regular order. The mouse is resisting the urge to scurry away in the face of danger, and the snake is resisting the urge to indulge in a mid-morning snack. And instead, they're going to kind of come together here. She talks about, even in the guidebook, like if you are feeling like the mouse and needing to sort of bring that snake energy together, or if you're feeling like the snake and needing to kind of connect to the energy versus just chomp down on something, sort of how you might read this card depending on what way you're feeling in the moment, which again, I like. A lot of these cards she seems to be, at least so far, and again, I've used this deck a while. She's kind of leaning into the duality of the cards, and that sometimes you're approaching them in one way and sometimes we're approaching them in another. So we have sort of that light and shadow built into the imagery of the card, like we saw with the Fool. So I quite like that. I like that card a lot. So here we have an opossum with the Hangman. I mean, again, I think we could probably guess that would be one of the Hangmen that would show up. Let's see. Opossums are not the fighting type. When threatened, they pause all action and play dead. I like that. When you're in a momentary limbo state, take a cue from the opossum and lay low. Fighting during this time isn't going to give you the results that you need. Just pause for a minute and sit still. So that works, right? I think that works really well. That idea of, it's not, every situation doesn't call for action. And so when the Hangman shows up, it's like, just stop for a minute and allow things to play out. Get a lay of the land, get us some perspective before you get up and start fighting anything. So I do like that. Beautiful death card. Not so beautiful for the poor mouse, but let's be honest, this, using animal decks, we do have full access to light and shadow because the animal kingdom is not full of spirit animals. It's full of animals that have a eating chain, and owls are predatory and mice are food for the owls, and so that is just part of nature itself. And I think that we often in oracle decks about animals and stuff, we kind of only stay with that light side, like animals aren't eating each other, because they are. And so I like that. I think it works really well there. Now let's see how she ties that into change is inevitable. Let's see what she's talking about. Here we go. Many people recoil when the death card appears in a reading as if it were an omen soon to come, suggesting a passing from this world. Rarely does the card indicate an upcoming loss of life. However, it can very well suggest that life as you know it may be due for a shift. For this poor mouse, I think it's pretty much an ending. When it came time to illustrate the death card, I thought about how at times we do everything in our power to avoid the thing we fear the most. For many of us, that is letting go of a limiting belief, getting out of our comfort zone, and embracing a significant life change. So she goes on and talks about change and how change can be destructive as well. Tani says, I love that many of these animals / insects are usually feared, though most all I'm seeing here are animals I love and respect. Necessity of facing our fears and becoming comfortable with our shadowy self. Yeah, I think she's definitely sticking to this guardian, this knight energy here in a beautiful way, which I appreciate. Here we have Temperance. I love a frog in Temperance. I think that that's fantastic. There is this 1 foot on land and 1 foot in water. They're born in land. They release the tail when they no longer need it. They can go, or they're born in water, as tadpoles. So we have this energy of being comfortable in both. I think that that is really a nice energy to use with Temperance. I like that she's using Temperance as a warning. You don't see that too much. May arrive as a warning and indicate that a move to the middle way from an extreme or rigid position will prove beneficial. I like that. I like that. Frog she has is growth, balance, prosperity, transformation, and good fortune. I like it. I like it. I saw a video of Feline has said, this has been one of her work, or there, I'm sorry. I'm trying to shift to they and them, because then it's just going to work well. This has been one of my working decks this month, and I absolutely love it. I've been using this too, and I've been loving it also. I have seen pelicans attack humans, Soren. Yeah, and it was pretty vicious. I love this devil card. I really love this devil card. And I love that she even has, if you can't see it because I don't have enough space, she even has keywords for the jackalope. So a jackalope is a mythological creature. And so she has keywords of myth, legend, man-made, and mythical, right? So this idea of the devil, we create these stories and we create these monsters to put our otherness onto and say it's the devil made me do it. There's something out there in the woods, instead of really owning our own power and our own responsibility for the choices that we make. So I really love this as an animal deck devil card. Generally, we're seeing the poor goats just don't have a chance in animal decks. They tend to end up being the devil card. So I think this works really great in an animal deck for a devil, and I love it. It makes me smile. Okay, so then we have the tower. I love this tree image, the cracking. The birds some birds are able to fly away. Obviously, if their eggs are in the nest, those aren't going to have an opportunity to fly away. We just see this general shake-up energy that is going on that I think works quite well in a tower card in an animal deck. So works good. Again, I really love this. We often see stags, especially, full grown, multi-point horned stags in the Emperor card very often. And I like a stag as an Emperor. Like, don't get me wrong. I think a stag works really well as the Emperor. I love this in the star cards here. I think it's really beautiful. This is smaller. She just has it as deer, but I like that it's a stag. She says, when I think of the star's energy, the word grace comes to mind, and of being at peace with oneself and the world. There is a quiet confidence woven within this card that brings to a situation a firm knowing that everything will be okay, even when confronting the most challenging struggle. I love that description of the star card. When you open your heart to the star, when you allow its vibrant, bright light to wash away any self-doubt, any negative feelings that once kept you pinned down will release. A new sense of empowerment will instill within a feeling of being nimble and capable of overcoming any obstacle. I really like this write-up of the star. For me, the star card is about trusting and having faith in yourself that you're going to find a way. All will be well, and all will be well, and all will be well, and all manner of things will be well, says Julian of Norwich, right? It's the understanding it's going to be fine. I'm going to find a way out of the situation. And I feel like the stag here with this star in its horns really speaks to that. When I first saw this particular card, I had a very visceral, emotional reaction to this as a star card versus the stag as the Emperor, which again, I do like. I have decks that have the stags and the Emperor, and I like it, but I think it's really beautiful. This one is so interesting. So she does like to use buildings in the background. We saw that a lot with the Urban Crow, which I quite love. But it is interesting with this. It looks like, let's just see, we may be wrong here. Let's see. I'm trying not to read this all because I know we'll be here forever. This is a coyote, sorry. So this is not a wolf. This is a coyote. Trickery, adaptation, cleverness, and hiding in the shadows. So this really speaks to that shadowy energy of the moon. While I tend to go to the moon energy, right, as sort of the water of the high priestess, we know that the moon is half light. It plays tricks on us. We have to be careful. And she talks about in here how because of the encroachment of urban development on coyote, where coyotes would naturally live, they've had to adapt to that. And they really are seen, at least I know in the US, we definitely have coyotes around here, or certainly up in Michigan. And we definitely saw, as I was growing up in Michigan, we saw more and more, there were more and more sightings and more coyotes like coming into the living areas and things, because they have to, they're being pushed out, and they're not really seen in a great light. And yet this is an animal that is doing its best and surviving quite well in changing environments, when we're talking about areas that are more urbanly developed. So I quite like that understanding of that we often see coyotes in a negative light versus seeing them as being these creatures who are trying to adapt and trying to survive. So I really like that, what she has written up here. You're asked to dive deep into the darkness of your subconscious and explore what dwells within. So I like that. I like the use of coyote there. Again, I feel like you often see coyote in the Magician card. So I think that works really well in the Moon card. That is nature. I've heard of small dogs being picked off from their owners by coyotes, I'm assuming. Yeah. Yeah, there are coyotes. Definitely seems like a large pack of coyotes around the cabin, and I have definitely heard that it's beautiful hearing them in the distance here. Love the Sun card, from a person who is not a fan of Rider-Waite-Smith Sun cards or Marseille Sun cards. Let's be fair, those six-pack babies started back in the day. I can't blame that on Rider-Waite-Smith, but I'm not a fan of babies in Sun cards. It's just not the way I learned to read the Sun. I love this powerful, I'm assuming this is a mountain lion. Let's see. Mountain lion, a crew/cougars. I just think this is powerful because the Sun card for me is about having confidence. It's you've gone through the rest of the major arcana, and now your happiness comes from a mastery of self, a confidence in self, and that's where the happiness comes from. It's not coming from external forces. When we get the Sun card, it's not like, oh, everything, you're going to win the lottery, people, all this happy thing, good luck and good fortune's coming to you. It's about that happiness that comes when we have done the work to master ourselves. And so whenever I see babies in the Sun card, and again, I know it's traditional, but it's just not how I see the Sun. So this, I think, is perfect. Like, this looks like the way I would interpret a Sun card. So I really think it is beautiful, powerful energy here. So that works for me. Love this Judgment. This has come up in a reading for me, so I've seen this before, but I love the Judgment. I love the shedding of the skin. Judgment provides an opportunity to suss out how we got to where we are, but then it's that second part of the Judgment is that we're then that renewal and that rebirth and that moving into the next phase. So you really see this with that sort of separated landscape. Does it talk about the bird that's here? It just talks about the snake. So it isn't really speaking about the little bird. Doesn't seem to be too much part of the situation, more about the snake, but kind of that I see that chirping of the, like a new day is dawning and the birds are starting to sing, that type of thing. But I really like this Judgment. I think snake is great for a Judgment card. And then we have the bee here for the World card. Everything's working together. Everything is in harmony as it should. People and the environment are all working as one. Everybody's doing their part. Everybody knows their role, right? There is that sense that everything is as it should be, and the bees are flourishing and pollinating and the flowers are growing. You just have that sense there. I think it's really beautiful. So that works for me. Okay, so that's the major arcana. Oh my goodness. Guys, okay, we'll speed it up. I'm gonna close the book. We're like, it's 58 minutes and we just major arcana. I really like these live walkthroughs, but I know that they are not going to probably be the best idea moving forward for anybody having the opportunity to want to watch it back if they want to get to know a deck. Although most people, you know, if you're really just looking for a quick walkthrough, you are not subscribed to my channel, or you're not going to my channel for that anyways. I'm gonna take a quick drink. All right, we'll set the book aside unless we want to look something specific up. And let's go through the minor arcana. So I love the fireflies in the Ace of, I mean, obviously we have a spider here too, but we also have that firefly energy and that spark that's there. I'm going to recommend, you know, this is not a big book. Let's just look. Oh, she's got some more references on the back here about the elements. In the back. It doesn't have page numbers. It's not a big book. If this is a deck that you end up getting, I really do think that this book is going to be something that's really useful. I think that she really brings something extra to the cards by her choice of the animals and her descriptions and the things that she's giving us in the guidebook. So I very often don't really find guidebooks to be that necessary. I enjoy this one. I have myself found myself peeking at it, which I don't normally do, just to see what she has to say. So she gives us information here about the spider and the firefly here, but I think it's really beautiful. And again, excuse me, we have the wand here. So as an Ace of Wands, it also kind of stands out as an Ace of Wands. Again, same thing here. So this is a nice thing for, you know, sometimes animal decks can be hard for people who, you know, if you're not 100% comfortable with just knowing what the two of Wands is. When it gives you that little nod to what it originally looked, you know, what we would often see in the Rider-Waite-Smith, like the two wands with something going between it, creating that path. Giving us that cue in can be helpful, because sometimes if you look at an animal deck that just has a face of an animal on it, you're kind of like, okay, well, what do I do with that? So I do think it's nice that she can blend the two of them together, so that we can see the energy of the animal loud and clear, but we have that hint of the traditional look of the Rider-Waite-Smith card there. So here we have the Two of Wands with obviously lions, but also we can see, like, I'm assuming antelope in the background. Here we have the Three of Wands with the scissor-tailed flycatcher. I really like the descriptions. I can't read them all. Here we have the Three of Wands. What I like is that this kind of reminds me of the energy of the Three of Wands in the Prismavisions, because the Prismavisions, she's tending the fire. So instead of that traditional Rider-Waite-Smith where you're just waiting for, like, you put it out into the world and now you're just kind of sitting there waiting for the ships to come in, I love the Prismavisions where she's tending the fire and keeping that, you're trying to keep that fire going and building. Because for me, the three is about growth of this transfer. You got to feed it if you want the growth. So I like that I get that same energy here with this Three of Wands. Here we have the Four of Wands with magpies. The Four of Wands is generally that celebratory. We can see the Four of Wands. We can see the kind of flowers around. We're having a loud celebration here with the noisy magpies here. And so, you know, that makes sense with the Four of Wands. Here we have the Five of Wands with the beaver energy. Now, I love beaver energy. It's really hard work that's going on. And this is interesting because it's almost like the competition that you see with the Five of Wands is with the water. It's the element itself, because, you know, the beaver is often trying to change its environment. It's got a river flowing through and it wants to stop that river. And so it's going to start to build up the dams to block things. It's changing what's going on. So it's like in combative nature in some degree with its environment and making the changes that it needs to. So it's kind of interesting. Here we have the Six of Wands. I think that would be lemurs, right? Yeah. Lemurs. Extroverted, playful, confident, community that they have here. She says, you may come to think of this card as I do, as the King Julian card. For those who have kids, that's the highly extroverted and sometimes pompous lemur king from Madagascar, the movie Madagascar. So that's pretty cute. Here we have the Seven of Wands with alligators. Alligators, yes. Crocodiles, alligators are in water. Crocodile, oh, they're all in water. What is the difference between an alligator and a crocodile? I can never remember. But here, this is interesting because it's about holding your position. So you can see that. Again, visually, you can see the meaning of the card or the traditional look of the cards, what we have going on here. And this is the same with her Crow Tarot. But what I like again about it is that it's enough to cue you in, but it's not enough to trap you in a particular way of reading. Soren says that alligators are smaller. So I guess if you meet one, I would say don't bother to measure, just, get out of the way and just worry about measuring later. Here we have the Eight of Wands with looks like a falcon. Yeah, so this is interesting because I like, we have the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith with the wands going past, which never made sense to me because I came from numbers, and the number 8 is such a mastery number, right? It's a 4 and a 4. So it's a really strong, powerful energy. And having to do with swiftness to me, and the way that I read the card. So it was one of those ones that I was kind of like, I don't know where you're coming from here. But I like this because this falcon seems very powerful and very masterful and very much taking charge of the situation. So I think that this will work for a Rider-Waite-Smith reader, but it also works for me. And that's, a big deal for me when I can find decks that a client is going to see that and recognize the traditional card, but it also stays open enough for the way that I read. So that's really beautiful. Here we have the Nine of Wands, kind of holding against this, what looks like maybe a fox in the background. The main animal is a porcupine, but it looks like, it's just having to hold against that onslaught. You often see a person that's been bandaged. It's like, okay, it's a lot of energy. The nines are about dynamic, high energy. And even if it's positive, it's a lot. And it's a lot to sort of hold the line here with all this energy. So, it's a cute little setup here. Here we have the Ten of Wands with, I guess, salmon. That's an interesting one, right? I do like decks that are willing. I know there's a mixed reviews about this. Like, I know some people don't like animal decks that use water animals not in the cups, but I really think that really confines animals to only be used in the cups if they're fish. It doesn't take account for the traits of the animal that might work in a different card, and really, again, starts to constrict down to just, it's got to fit in this particular thing. So I actually, when it's an all animal deck like this, we're not just having suits of animal. I do like those types of decks as well, like with the Oak, Ash, and Thorn. But with this, it's just choosing the animal that represents what the artist is trying to represent. And I quite like that. Let's just see what she says here, though. From a distance, an idea you envisioned appeared so easy to reach without obstacles or complications to cause second thoughts. Now that you are knee-deep and committed, the task is proving to be more challenging than anticipated. With struggle comes the risk of drowning in self-doubt, of losing passion and enthusiasm for something that once held great promise. The Ten of Wands brings the message that if you want to succeed, you will need to rekindle the fire in your belly to persevere, as you're going to encounter a period of struggle before you reach a successful ending. So, it's that idea of the Ten of Wands is that sort of weight that you just have to keep pushing forward on, which I like. Now, I read the Ten of Wands is that idea of coming to completion and full fruition, but with fire and transformation, that is heavy, and that's going to take work. It doesn't come randomly out of nowhere. It takes great work. So that salmon fighting against the stream to get to that position of the Ten of Wands works really well for me too, Soren. So then we come to the court cards where we have the Page of Wands. Oh, so we do have different animals here. They're not going through and doing the same thing. So we have a bower bird. I believe bower birds are ones that put their eggs in other, maybe that's something else. This fanciful bird is an artist. It is romantic. It takes animal creativity to a whole new level. Interesting here. I can't get stuck. We're going to be here forever. A bower bird for the page. For the Knight of Wands, we have a wolverine, which is the state animal of Michigan. And that makes sense for the Knight of Wands. For the Queen of Wands, we have the lioness. And then for the King of Wands, sorry, I don't have this where you can see them both. For the King of Wands, you have the lion. So I think that works really beautifully. Again, you see that cue in of the sunflowers that you often see. And of course, you often also see cats in the Queen of Wands. So this is a large cat in the Queen of Wands. So it looks really powerful. I love them both. Okay. Oh, look at that. I love it. Okay. Now we're going into the cups. And here for the Ace of Cups, we have, oh, well, how did I get to the page? I did something wrong. Page, Knight, Queen, King. Sorry about that, folks. I obviously didn't put these back in order perfectly. Oh, I love that Ace of Swords. Okay. Here we go. Technical errors, technical errors. Okay, so Ace of Crow with the heron. I just think this is beautiful. Cups, Ace of Crow. I think I just saw Soren say something about crows. So I said the Ace of Crow. I think this is beautiful as an Ace of Cups. It's just really beautiful. I should have kept out. Well, we just started. Let's see the E. I'm going to keep out the Ace of Wands so we can look at them at the end because I like to do that. Okay, Ace of Cups, heron. I think it's beautiful. I love this Two of Cups. I think it's beautiful. I love it in terms of, well, you know, animal decks in general are great for non-having gender other than obvious ones like the King and the Queen of Lions. You can really see that. But I think this is really beautiful. It shows that sort of entwining. It really speaks to the power of coming together and the powerful connection. I love an elephant as the Two of Cups. Here we have our raccoons showing up for the Three of Cups, a little bit more of the party raccoons going out and about the town, causing trouble. I do like this energy with, for me, the threes are about growth, and then the cups are that interconnection that often connects us outward. And so, you know, the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith is about, generally we're seeing women that are drinking and sort of dancing around together. But I prefer, to be honest, the raccoons up to having a good time, whatever that might take. Now this animal has been chasing me around. This is a pangolin with the Four of Cups, and I quite like this. I've never heard of a pangolin, I have to admit, until another deck an animal deck that I had one in it, and then another deck that I got had it in it, and then this one had it in it, and it was like, okay, apparently I need to pay attention to the pangolin. But what I like is that for me, fours are about stability and structure and not about boredom of the Rider-Waite-Smith. And so it doesn't bring up for me the boredom aspect whatsoever, but it really has more of that stability and that protective energy of the number four that I think works really well for the way that I read the Four of Cups. So I really like this. This has come up for me in a reading, and I think it works really well. Here we have the Five of Cups with the Death's Head moth. Certainly makes sense. You know, this is the Lost card, not the Three of Swords, but we're not gonna go there yet again because everybody gets sick of me talking about it. So the Death Head moth makes sense. We have the traditional three that are knocked over or broken and the two that are full, and so it makes sense for three or Five of Cups. I'm sorry. Here we have the elephants with the 6. So we have the elephants coming in. We have young elephants that are here. This idea of relationships. I almost have like these older ones here, and then we have this sort of memory, youthful energy that's here. This idea of, and also it almost has this energy for me. I have a whole video about the 6 of Cups, so I'm not going to reiterate that what I feel about the 6 of Cups. But it's really powerful, and it really asks us to re-engage the wonder of the world that we see with childhood, or we see in childhood, ideal childhood, not negative childhood experiences, but just an ideal childhood energy. After this isn't just let's just do this like the Fool card. It's after the 5 of Cups, right? That's the Ghost card. Here is this idea that there has been loss and negative experiences, and then to ask from the 6 of Cups to step back into that place of wonder is quite difficult. It's a really powerful card, and elephants to me are super powerful. So, anyways, I like that card. That's the long and short of it. Here we have the 7 of Cups. We have, of course, all the cups up in the as constellations up in the sky. We have a rabbit being used here. This is, to me, a pretty traditional 7 of Cups. I do like the use of rabbits as the idea of abundance, and that if you tap into your dreams rather than in your illusions, this is where you're going to gain that abundance that you see here. Here we have the 8 of Cups. The 8 of Cups. She said the inspiration for the 8 of Cups came from the BBC series Planet Earth 2, the Cities episode. This fascinating episode captured falcons thriving in New York, leopards running Mumbai streets, and so many more animals who have adapted and found space in sprawling cities. That is so interesting. But it's, you can also see that traditional journeying away here. Keyword she has for tiger is strength, nobility, and emotions here. Use the power of the tiger to claim your future while maintaining control of your emotions. When you call upon the tiger, you will be amiable, yet firm in your decision making. That's an interesting one. 9 of Cups, we have the peacock. That makes sense. It's the wish fulfillment. All of that, just energy coming forward. I think visually it just speaks to the 9 of Cups in a pretty way, but also it works. So I love that. I know I have to not dwell. I really like this 10 of Cups. We often see, it's a happily ever after cards. Often we'll see, families and children playing and everything. So I like just all of the animals sort of living in harmony here of the 10 of Cups. That works really well. Let's see if she lists them all out. Probably not. That would probably get obnoxious. Let's see. Peacock, 10 of Cups. No, it just talks about the forest animals coming together for the 10 of Cups, as they are a community that brings their unique talents and resources to support each other. So there we have that. So we have the 10 of Cups. So then we have the Page of Cups, with the capybara, which I just think are the cutest animals ever. We have the Knight of Cups as the swan. I actually really like this because I do find swans to be extremely powerful. So I really like that energy of the swan for the knight. We have the Queen of Cups as the whale. So it looks like the king and the queen stay the same animals. So we have orcas, queen and the king. For the wands, we had the lioness and the lion. So that seems to be the pattern. We'll see if that plays out in the rest of the suits as well. So beautiful, beautiful. I'm certainly happy. The only one that was to me at all like, oh, that's interesting would have been, or like I would have to work my way through it, would be the tiger as the 8 of Cups. That was a kind of interesting throw in there. Here we have the Ace of Swords. Again, love her aces. I think they're really beautiful. I love this Two of Swords. So Two of Swords is one of my cards. I have a Two of Swords tattoo. It is the card of choices. It is the card of the way coming forward is to bring the head and the heart together. So we often see these types of skylines where we see a sky and we see that cutoff and then we see the water. And so the answer to the problem of the Two of Swords is to bring your head and your heart together. If your head's ruling, it's going to be too cold and calculating, and you're going to get stuck there like I do often. If your heart's ruling, you're going to be more reactionary and more emotional to get to the situation. But when you bring the two of those things together, that's what opens swords and allows you to make a good decision that brings you forward motion. So I like a Two of Swords that shows that really clear air and water line. That just is something, it's totally a personal preference, but I really like that. And from that becomes that growth and that movement forward that obviously goes into the three. So here we have a typical Three of Swords. What I do like is is that the chains are down here and we have a feather that's loose here. So again, I don't read straight Rider-Waite-Smith. So the loss card for the loss aspect or heartbreak aspect of the Three of Swords doesn't really work for me. That's the Five of Cups, the disruption of five with the cups of the emotion and our connections. The three is a number of growth, and the swords is growth of the mind. Now, that can happen from difficult circumstances, but it can also come from positive experiences. But what I like is that we have that sort of, for me, I have the chains that are dropped down, and whatever this bird is has already risen up from that. So a lesson has been learned, and there is movement upward and growth away from whatever the circumstances is. So that works for me as well. And it's a typical image for somebody who reads Rider-Waite-Smith. So that works. I don't think there's any animal. Let's see. Well, it's elephant. So those are elephant tusks. That's interesting too with elephants and that connection with memory, that long memory here as well. So those are elephant tusks. Sorry, I should check that before I swept over. I love this Four of Swords. I've definitely had this come up in readings. I just think it's adorable. We have this little hedgehog that's just creating its boundaries and going and taking a break from the world. I just think it's adorable, and I think it works. If I could have other animal pet besides Isabel, it would probably be a hedgehog. Just random information as we go through these and try to finish this poor deck. Here we have the Five of Swords. Again, I like this. This is such an interest. I've had this card come up. I like this understanding of the enroaching energy of the human world on the animal world and that adaptation that comes in. The Five of Swords is that kind of at what cost, right? And so when we think about urban development and at what cost to the rest of the natural world, and are we going to even think about this or pay attention to this at all? I think that really works well in an animal deck. Here we have the Six of Swords, that movement. I mean, this makes sense with a turtle on the Six of Swords. I think that's a little bit an easier choice than we've seen. I think that the sea turtles make sense with the Six of Swords, and it's beautiful. So this is an interesting one, the Seven of Swords with the Black Panther. This is every time these come up. For me, it's the Bagheera card. It's always a push to figure things out myself. It's Bagheera shoving Mowgli, out of the trees and making him figure things out, how he's going to deal with the situation. Because I was a big Mowgli fan of reading when I was younger. But I like this. I think it works. I don't read the Seven. So the Seven is about growth that comes from a firm foundation, 4 + 3. And so I've reconciled the Rider-Waite-Smith 7, which is often showing sort of stealing swords, somebody climbing out of a window, somebody up to something, but we don't know what's going on. We really don't have the whole picture. The swords are about the suit of the mind. And so I've reconciled the 7 with the Rider-Waite-Smith image of the 7s as that understanding that we've got to go deeper. We've got to look deeper what's going on beneath the surface, because we've just got this little snippet here and we don't know the whole story. So this works. I like the layering that works with the way that I read the 7 of Swords. And so in that way, it works. In terms of the Panther, it really does speak about independence and intuition and really thinking through and processing and being smart about the way that you're doing things. So yeah, this works for me visually. And again, I know, like, does it matter whether or not a deck works for me or not to people watching? Of course not. But, you know, I don't really buy decks just for the sake of doing a walkthrough. This is a deck I bought for myself. And so it is always of interest to me. It kind of, I do believe we're seeing more of decks that understand that give us enough to cue in, but don't give us so much that we kind of, you strangle us with a predetermined meaning. And so I certainly have been lucky in the last couple years to find more decks like that, yes, are really made for the Rider-Waite-Smith system, but are kind of expanding and opening up enough that it leaves wiggle room for people that read things in a different way. I know I harp on that all the time. Here we have the 8 of Swords. We can see what almost looks like an eyeball, but it's more like a nest that's going on, but we're looking up. It's like we're in a cave and we're looking up and we're seeing sort of these circling owls. It feels very restrictive. I am definitely claustrophobic and it feels very restrictive here. So we have the wisdom of the owls, but this maybe it's a baby owl, maybe it's an owl inside of its kitten nest and it doesn't want to come out and it's just kind of restricting itself in. That's how I see it. I'm not saying that's what the situation is in the guidebook, because if I read them all, we will be stuck here. Let's just peek though. For the 8 of Swords, I wanted to take a different approach from how the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith decks, including my past decks, illustrate this energy and focus on the feeling of powerlessness and confusion from the first person perspective. The person who holds the card. Oh, so see, yeah, that's why I feel claustrophobic looking at it. This is us. We're looking through this hole, right? Let's say we're looking. You obviously can't see me, but you can down the corner. But you're looking up through a hole, and so this is your perspective of being in that trap position, and you need to get yourself out of the hole. Great, just what I need. A visual representation of what my brain looks like when it's getting in its own way. I'll take my hat off to MJ. I slaughter your last name all of the time. Miss MJ. I'll just take my hat off to visually represent my brain. So that's good. Okay, 9 of Swords with the polar bears here. So this is an interesting one, right? 9 of Swords. She says, as a parent, I've encountered the energy of the 9 of Swords firsthand. Of course, the 9 of Swords is often seen as the nightmare card, right? For me, it's just 9s are high energy, right? 9s are energy that's bouncing off the wall, and it can be very overwhelming. It can be very powerful, and you can really utilize that energy well when a 9 of Swords comes up. But you have to bring it down a notch because there's just a lot going on. And so you have this sort of foreboding feel in the sky around the polar bear, but we also don't really see a particularly panicked polar bear here, which I like. Call on the polar bear when you need inner compassion and patience, as it will help you to feel connected with the loving touch of Mother Earth. I really like this though, because it's like, calm yourself, kind of, allow bear energy to root and ground you so that you can utilize the energy of the 9 of Swords, the 9 of the mind, the dynamic energy of the mind. You want to bring it down, bring yourself down a notch so that you can either deal with the real fear that's there, the real issue, or the real positive energy, because Nine of Swords is about ramped up, whether you're excited, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to conquer the world. The Nine of Swords is like, bring it down a notch so that you can actually do something. Or I've got a real concern. I've got money concerns, but now I'm waking up in a panic and my brain is going crazy. And blah, blah, blah. You're not going to be able to deal with that real problem. Bring it down a notch. So bear energy for me definitely brings me down a notch and roots and grounds and gives you a space to take a breath and deal with the actual situation versus the exaggerated mental energy. So I like this visual cue of the 9. Oh, whew. Okay. Not a big, you know how I feel about the Ten of Swords. This one's going to be a little harder for me to wrap my brain around. Here we have the Ten of Swords, which generally has a dead person on the ground in a pool of blood. Never my favorite, because Ten of Swords for me is the completion of the state of the mind. That doesn't include a dead person on the ground in my way of reading the Ten of Swords. What's interesting now, I have gotten this, I didn't get it as a Ten of Swords. Sorry, I'm going to set this down for a minute. My hands are cramping from holding the guidebook for an hour and a half. I've gotten this card just in terms of as an animal deck, and it's worked really, really well, because here we have that animal, the bird that I was talking about, and let me see if she names it. Is it the Warbler? Yeah. So the Warbler, let me find it, because this is really interesting, and I love this card as an animal, and I'm just going to have to bring it around to the Ten of Swords. Okay, just a second. Let me find it. Although this card is not one that many like to see. Swords sit around corner. Here it is. The yellow warbler is often the victim of the imposing cowbird who sees the opportunity of passing off the job of parenthood. So this is the yellow warbler. This is the cowbird. And so a cowbird will come in and lay its egg in other birds' nests, right? And in this case, the yellow warbler's nests. So that then the yellow warbler not only is having to take care of this baby that's not their own, but that they're such big birds that they end up shoving out the baby. Their own baby ends up getting shoved out of the nest. Now, there is another card, or it's another deck that I have. What's so interesting is that the yellow warbler will actually, yes, it talks about it here. The yellow warbler is often the victim of the blah, blah, blah. Over time, the warbler has learned to create a barrier of grass between the cowbird's egg and its own eggs to ensure that the cowbird does not hatch. The lesson we can learn from the warbler is how to deal with those who wish to take advantage of our good nature. So this bird has mastered the art of creating boundaries. So I really liked this. Because it shows what happens here when our brain does take over and we have these terrible experiences that just become this full weight of a situation here. But the yellow warbler has actually figured out a way to circumnavigate this problem. And that is the essence for me of the Ten of Wands. You have been through a difficult situation. You've been through good and bad situations, and you've come up to the 10 with that full completion of the state of mind. I've figured it out. I've got to set these better boundaries. I've got to create a barrier to push smother this cowbird egg so that my eggs over here are able to hatch and grow. So there is a solution that the yellow warbler brings. That part is what for me represents the 10 of Swords. There. Sorry, I know that was a lot of time spent on it, but it is interesting. And again, this card for me came up when I was using this more as an animal oracle deck, and it was just great for the situation at hand. It made a lot of sense. And it does to me make sense as a 10 of Swords as well. Okay. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I appreciate every one of you who come to these live ones like this, because we're just going to chat away about this. So here we have a page of, let's keep moving, folks. Here we have a ferret, For the Page of Swords, a barracuda. This has come up for me as well for an animal that has worked really well. A barracuda for the Knight of Swords, which I love. Beautiful Queen of Swords. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And then let me slide it over. The King of Swords, which feels much more that solid feel of a king. So absolutely beautiful. This is, of course, my personal card, and I think it's gorgeous. So then we come to a Pentacles. Now, this is an interesting one, isn't it, for an Ace of Pentacles, because we have an owl here. I know I said I wouldn't read these, but I think this is an interesting one. You're planting the seeds today for long-term goals that will blossom over time. The Ace of Pentacles serves as a reminder that small, purposeful actions taken today will blossom to something fruitful in the future, which I agree. But let's get to where's the owl here? The powerful and intuitive owl will help you see the opportunities that may have gone unnoticed or underappreciated. Use this energy to create light within a situation that will lead to seeing the whole picture. Where is this little seed going to grow into? And so that you can plant those seeds. That's pretty cool. Definitely an interesting one for the Ace of Pentacles. Love this Two of Pentacles. My favorite card in this deck is the Page of Swords. Being a fair owner, they are highly inquisitive. So that works perfect, feline Fortuna, and very playful and childlike. That would work really well then. Thank you for sharing that. I love this. Again, it's water. People are going to say, oh, that should be the Two of Cups. I like using all of the animals for all of the suits like this. So I just think it really shows something perfectly in balance. Make sure you're holding on to what you need to, releasing what you don't need to. I think it works well for the Two of Pentacles. Here we have the beautiful Three of Pentacles. A wolf is going to be a wolf, and it needs sustenance to survive. The Three of Pentacles asks that you consider your options and what resources you have available to aid in your success. Oh dear, not going to go well, is it? Although stags can be very powerful as well. So that's an interesting one. Here we have, this one is also a sad one. I know animal lovers are going to, but again, this deck is about sweet animals that don't act like animals. This is a deck that does portray animals as animals. And so I really love, it's kind of funny because I don't think this would really happen, right? That a fox is going to literally have, it reminds me of my last class that I taught last year. We read the, oh my gosh, my brain is completely flatlining. My brain is flatlined. I can't even, Watership Down. We read Watership Down. And if you've read Watership Down or if you've watched any of the movies, in Watership Down, one of the Warrens seemed like this perfect place, but it was a place in which truthfully the humans were setting it up so that the rabbits would be able to flourish so that they would have a food supply. So you basically see a fox who is tending to a food supply and setting that energy away for a rainy day, which is how I read the Four of Pentacles. It's for me not about greediness, although you could certainly read this as greediness, right? You've got a fox. Does he really need to have all these animals? He's like overreaching what he just needs to have right now. But for me, the Four of Pentacles is not time to put your resources out there. It's time to hold your resources close at hand, which is what this card shows. So it works. Here we have the Five of Pentacles. This we have a caterpillar and the owl. I love this. Call on the caterpillar when you need trust in the process, when you need the patience to give events that will turn your life around, time, space to unfold. The caterpillar is, oh, that's interesting how they pull the caterpillar in there. In a world where support should be abundant, where the powerful should help others rise up, but instead block the way, the Five of Pentacles indicates a time when you may feel more like the prey instead of the predator. That's really interesting. That's an interesting look at the That's an interesting way to look at the Five of Pentacles, but it certainly makes sense. And don't you love a deck that challenges the way that you typically see the Five of Pentacles? It's a shake up of your. I do answer questions, not necessarily just random questions. The video we're doing right now is about a walkthrough of this particular deck. And so if it relates to that, yes, but we're not doing readings or anything like that in this chat. So I like that take on this, that you're feeling blocked and you're feeling disconnected from that empowering feel with the five, empowered feel of your resources. You're feeling disconnected with that, with the shakeup of the fives. And so that's an interesting way to look at the Five of Pentacles. And I like that. I like to be challenged by that. Here we have the Six of Pentacles, that harmony that comes in with the sixes. I really like this. I know that we have this kind of symbiosis. It's good for the water buffalo, I think that's what that is. And it's good for the oxpecker. Like they both get something out of the situation, and we have that balancing energy. So I love that for the Six of Pentacles. The Seven of Pentacles, we have the spider here, which I like because it's about patience, casting your web out and waiting for that moment in which you feel the jiggle on the web, and you go for it because you've got your food that you're looking for. So that makes sense. That works really well. Here we have the Eight of Pentacles, which makes sense. Again, there's that mastery of the beehive, creating that perfect structure of the hive, and there's just such a lot of intention and beautiful precision about beehives that fascinate me. This may be a wasp, but it's the same things go together with that. It is a paper wasp nest. And again, you can really appreciate the workmanship and the design that goes into creating one, producing a perfect hexagon from chewing up wood and pulp. It's so interesting, and I think works really well. So here we have the Nine of Pentacles. I love this. Of course, I love bear energy. It's really important to me. The Nine of Pentacles is that perfect space that you create for yourself, in which you can put your time and your energy and your resources into what's important for you. And so I really love this picture of the Nine of Pentacles here. I know it's taking so long. The Ten of Pentacles then has that bee, that perfect, everything's perfectly set as it should. It's a continuation. It's going to cycle through. The pollen is going to go to the bees, and the bees are going to make the honey, and they're going to pollinate the flowers, and the flowers are going to go and propagate more. We all know, we've all read about the difficulties and the issues that happen when our bees start disappearing, right? So it's that everything sort of working as it should with the Ten of Pentacles. We have the Page of Pentacles. Interesting. We have to look at that one. We're almost done, folks. We're almost done. The wise octopus brings to your attention a wealth of assets, from the ability to strategically camouflage itself to regenerating a missing arm. When you call upon the octopus energy, you will feel supportive forces from every angle, creating and generating abundance. I do like this as well for a page, because I do think that octopuses, or octopi, I guess it would be, that octopi, somebody tell me. I think we talked about this before, and I think somebody looked it up and it was right. You could either do octopuses or octopi, either one, but I could be wrong. I do see them as being very curious, which pages have that sort of curiosity. I know that they're very good learners, and so I think it works really well with the Page of Pages here. I love the donkey here with the Knight of Pentacles, steady, strong, one foot in front of the other. The Queen and the King here are cows. So we have the cow and the bull with the pentacles, which I think works really well. So there we have it. I think that she's done a really good job. Again, I have used this deck. I've used it, and what I like about it is I do feel like it's multifaceted, right? I do feel like, oops. Oh, no. I know we don't have a memory card. We don't need a memory card. Go away. There we go. I do feel like you almost get 2 decks in one, because I have used it just as an animal oracle deck. I just need to pull a card to get an animal energy message, and I've used it with the Crow Tarot. So I've used it together with the Crow Tarot as the tarot, and this as just the animal energy here. I've used it that way, and then I've also used it as a tarot deck. And so I feel like I really did get a 2-for-1. And the only other animal deck that I feel like I get the 2-for-1 with is and I always get the name wrong, and somebody's going to say it because they've heard me get the name wrong a million times. It is the is it the Spirit Animal? No, it's not Spirit Animal Tarot. It's by Paulina Cassidy. It's Paulina Cassidy's Animal Tarot deck. That also does an amazing job, and you really get this 2-for-1 of really well-picked animals for tarot, and the keywords work really well. You could use it as an animal deck, a oracle deck, or you could use it as tarot. Spirit Song, thank you so much. But it works really well. Not all animal tarot decks that have different things in each one work all the time for me, and I think this works in both ways, because one of my favorite decks right now is the Oak, Ash, and Thorn. This isn't a different animal, and this is more like a fully functioning tarot deck. It has each of the suits has its own animal, so it's not doing it's not doing a mishmash of animals into it. It's just using animal and woodland energy to depict a tarot deck. So this works perfectly because it's a tarot deck. But a lot of animal tarot decks really just feel like oracle decks. They should have been an oracle deck. This one, I feel like the tarot card is enhanced by the animals that she's chosen, and I feel like the animals are also, we're gaining some understanding about them through the lens of the tarot card, and so it's like that win-win that we don't always get, for me personally. And I also think that she's pushed some boundaries in terms of using different kinds of animals that you would in cards that you wouldn't think to find them in, and I really like that as well. So for me, this was definitely a win. Again, with cardstock, if you're a riffle shuffler like me, it riffle shuffles like a dream. It is a bit slippy, and I do sometimes have chunks that will fall out. But it's not super glossy. It's hard to explain it. It definitely has a sheen on it, right? So you can kind of see the sheen there. It's like a satin finish. So it's not high gloss at all, but it's a little bit slippy, but I love how it shuffles. So for me, I'm happy to take a little bit of the slippage because it riffle shuffles so well. Okay. I know I've been talking about this for an hour and 46 minutes, but that's okay. We're just having a good time together. But let's try reading with it. I think she's got a reading in here, so let's try that. Okay, let's see. Where's the reading? So we're looking at motivation, external influences, obstacles, and wisdom. Oh, I like that. Okay. So we have our motivation as the sun. So our motivation is to find that happiness that comes from within. Do the work to have a mastery of ourselves, and this is where happiness is going to come from. External influences with the Four of Pentacles is an interesting one right there. You could almost see this a bit in shadow in terms of the restrictive nature maybe of the four. Certainly right now, I think we're all feeling that restrictive energy here and that need to sort of hold our resources close at hand because who knows what's going to happen, next month. That certainly comes to mind. We have the challenges of the Nine of Swords that in this particular state, we can really exaggerate things. Emotions are running high, overthinking is running high, plans are running high, frustrations are running high. We've got to bring it down, right? That's going to really challenge us to bring things down into manageable space here with that. And then a piece of wisdom that we might gain is the Tower. So what are we going to do with it? We've experienced the Tower moment. The Tower card for me is really less about the thing that happens that shook things up that was outside of our control. And the Tower is much more to do with how are you going to rebuild in a more balanced way. I do like the spread is something a little bit different that she put in here. And then when you look at these animals here, again, we have that confidence of the mountain lion that shows up here. We talked about the sort of herding our resources close together with the fox. We also do think about the fox as being smart. And if we think about if it is a time to hold our resources closer rather than throwing them out everywhere, the fox, that smartness of the fox that is going to raid the hen house because it's a great opportunity for the fox. That makes a lot of sense there. And we talked about the bear that just kind of brings that energy down. And if you're smart, the crows, raven crow energy here are just going to fly away from the situation. It's not going to completely destroy their world. You're going to rise back up from the Tower energy, but how do you want to rise up? What are you going to rebuild? So I like the animals for this. I like I think that it could bring, like if you're doing a full reading, I think that bringing in that animal energy gives another layer to the message of the cards. You could literally do, just read it as the tarot cards as they are, and then bring in, okay, now we actually have this animal oracle built in. How is that animal going to come in and support that energy of what's going on? And so you literally do feel like you have, again, because I've used this deck, you do kind of feel like it's not so much that the animals are just representing the tarot card, which, she obviously did that work. But for me, as someone who uses animal energy for readings and to get insight, it feels like I've got two decks in one, that I can just read the tarot message and then say, all right, how is the energy of this animal going to help this situation? I don't have to pull an extra card. It's just right there. And that's one of the things that I really like about this particular deck, is that I do feel like I've got a 2-for-1 with it right within the same reading, if that makes sense. So there you have it. In terms of edging it, obviously, I want to find something that is going to really work with that kind of teal, or that's what I don't know. I'll show you again. I may do the same thing that I did here, because I think it would also work. So this is the Urban Crow Tarot that we did a walkthrough of by the same creator. And I did this kind of muted vintage gold because it looks really great, I think, with this particular deck. But if you look at this deck, it also has that antique goldy color around the edge of the border. I don't know if you can actually see that. But so I think I could do, and this is what I like to do. If you want to test something and you've got it, you can kind of just put that top card on the top of, this is the cheat for us edgers out there. Put that card on the top of a deck that has that same, and you can see whether or not you think that would work for you. So I could do that, and I would be happy with that. Because what I don't want is something really gaudy. I'm afraid of what this is going to do on the edge of this. So I'm a little reluctant. This isn't the same color. This is more of a warmer green than that. So I don't really feel like I have anything. And that's too green. So I think I'll probably go with gold on this because it worked. And the gold that I used on this one, and oh shoot, did I stuff it in here? Now I'm going to have to figure it out again. Oh, here, I know, because I've got two of them. Is Tombow 026. is what I did. I do this a lot with a lot of my decks when I just want an antique muted matte gold. And that's what I used on this. So I think I'm just going to do the same thing on that one and solve that problem in one swoop. So not that everybody trims or edges their decks, but for me, that's kind of what finishes up the deck and sort of makes it mine, is when you go through and put the edging on it. So I think that's what I'll do. All right, folks, I'm going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for walking along with me tonight. I know this is I know this is a late start for people, everybody in Europe. You know, a lot of people are sleeping in Europe at this point. So I've got to kind of try to find some days when I can do it earlier. But I appreciate those of you who popped in to take a look at this deck with me. I'm, again, greatly enjoying it, and I hope that you enjoyed just taking a look at this and thinking about the cards. As I said, I think it's always, whether you end up purchasing a deck or you don't purchase a deck, I think that when you go and walk through a particular tarot deck and see the way an artist chose to approach a card, we learn something, a nuance about that card. And especially I feel like in this deck, I do feel like the artist here was stretching, and she even said in a couple of the cards she wanted to do something different even than other decks that she's created before. So seeing somebody sort of stretch themselves, we learn like nuances and new ways of looking at cards. I definitely, from this deck, and even just from this walkthrough and looking at a couple of these, it's definitely made me look at some of these cards in a different light than I normally would, and that adds to my understanding of the cards. And so that's why I love doing walkthroughs, not to mention just looking at wonderful art. So have an absolutely wonderful rest of your evening. If you're watching this tonight, if you're at some other time, have an absolutely wonderful rest of whatever it might be for you. And I will see you later. Sunny says, do you think this would work well for a newbie and for your upcoming tarot class? I do think that, because, and I will say this, I do think that there is enough of a touch-in on the cards to what they are. Like you have Eight Pentacles here. You have energy. I think this would work well for a beginner. Again, if you're willing to stretch. But like, you know, you see the basic imagery in the cards. You see that Rainbow of Cups. You see the Two of Wands as you would see it. You see the 10 swords as you would see it, you know, so on and so forth. You definitely get the cue in that you would with a Pip deck or with a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. So I actually do think that this would work for a beginner. And then you have the extra nuance then of the animal. So I do think that this could work. If you're a person who loves animals, I think this would work well, even if you're a newbie. And then be willing, you know, and are willing to stretch yourself out of just sort of the typical phase. So yeah, I do think it would work. Sunny, thank you for that good question. Okay, I'm gonna go. Have a wonderful night, and I will see you guys all later. I'm gonna end the broadcast. I'm gonna kick you out the window. I wish there was a more polite way, but there isn't. So goodbye.